Jumbo, here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop Live edition, and you never know where the go-to guy is. Guesses real quick on the chat where the go-to guy is. He appears to be outside, but where is he outside? I know where I'm at. I'm in the Puck Sports Studios, of course, built by Limback Lumber. Contractors, they offer free deliveries. For everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects, the largest, and I mean the largest, stock moldings in the Northwest, old school service. They've been doing it, kiddos, since 1930. Give Limback Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. First guest that came in on the chat, Jeff says, outside an Olive Garden.
That's a good guess.
Okay, it's a good guess. Doug's chimes in. Okay, no, don't give it away yet. Outside of Starbucks in Bend. Okay, all right. Well, where is the go-to guy here on a Wednesday? Again, don't give it away. Let's let this build up. Let's give the imagination, the theater, because this is riveting entertainment is what we have for you on Wednesday. Ryan's Redding,
California.
Yeah.
Huh. It's a good guess.
Nick says DUI lawyers.
DUI lawyer.
It's office.
God.
Well, the go-to guy is back. He was off on Monday. He was undergoing dental surgery. How did the dental surgery go? Are we okay?
It went okay, Puck, but I noticed this morning when I woke up, I've got some discoloring here, like some red coloring here. And then when I smile or laugh, there's kind of it still looks like I'm numb from the dentist.
Yeah, the right side.
It went fine. It was called a sinus lift. Now, here's the thing. Now, I'm going to need some help with this. I've never been told this before. All the different procedures and surgeries I've had over the years, I've never had this one. I was reading the list of things that I'm supposed to do and not do following surgery. You're not supposed to sneeze or blow your nose for 6 weeks.
Sneeze or blow your nose for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I thought you had dental surgery.
I did, but it was a sinus lift, so it had something that was pretty close to, the nasal area.
Is this like did you have plastic surgery? Are you unhappy with the way you look?
I've got that periodontal disease, where your gums recede, and so I'm trying to get an implant. And they need a bone graft, but I mean, doesn't everybody blow their nose once a day anyway? And so, how do you go? That's 42 days without blowing your nose.
I don't blow my nose every day. I would maybe I sneeze.
Blow your nose once a day, like in the morning or something.
I don't. No. Are you supposed to?
Well, no, you're not supposed to. But I think, and now that I'm told that I can't, I feel like I need to do it all the time.
That's all you're gonna.
Do you ever do this when no one's around? When you don't have a Kleenex or whatever, where you do this on one side and then do this on the other?
I do it when people are around. Care.
You do it when people are around. Yeah.
Someone's car alarm is going off. This is perfect.
There we go. Alarm off. I'm trying to do a podcast.
This is gonna be.
Hey, guess what? It's my car.
Is it really?
Yeah. Here.
Why is your car going off?
I don't know. Something just jostled in my pocket. God, I'm just a freaking mess, man.
You are. Let's see. Another guess is market of choice in Bend. He's not in Bend. I can tell you that.
No, I'm in the state of Washington.
Okay, that's another guess. He's in the state of Washington. He clearly is outside. The cup is going to probably now give it away because the cup is kind of showing in the camera.
Yeah.
Do you see the cup that's showing in? Your cup is going to give it away. Move your cup out of the camera.
Oh, and that's a place I'm not supposed to be going to, is it?
I agree, Evan.
Hey, Evan,
get it together.
Trying to get it together. Evan checks in. Jesus Christ, Jim, get it together, man. I've
never
had it together.
Together.
I've never had it together, Evan. I haven't. Yeah.
Ryan says Vancouver Starbucks. Yeah. You're at a Starbucks. And again, I do think that I don't think
I am.
anybody in Seattle anymore, if you are a basketball fan, should be going to Starbucks. I'm sorry. I just don't believe you should. I think it's non-negotiable. Hey, real quick, can we get the order? I like when they put the orders on it. Like, what does it say?
Yeah.
What is
Can
it?
you
No,
read it?
turn around. No, turn more to the left. And now we lost Jim. Whatever he did, he was out. he has now departed the show. I'm pretty sure that Jim hit something, and now he's left the show. What an idiot. Give me 1 second so I can text him. You have left the show, you idiot. We'll see if we can get Jim. Oh, there he is. He's back in. Hold on. What did you do? What did you hit?
I swear to God, I didn't touch anything. I was just trying to show you my order.
Yeah, well, you got knocked out of the show there for a quick second. I don't know. I think if you're a basketball fan, you grew up loving the Sonics, you covered the team. Why are you going to Starbucks, man? Why?
Oat milk latte, add vanilla. That's what I got today.
I do like oat milk, by the way. It's very good. You know
what the overpricing was on that here?
Let me guess. Hold on. How many? 16 ounces?
Yeah, it's a venti.
Is that, I don't know. Is that 16 ounces?
Yeah.
Okay. 16 ounce venti latte with oat milk. $8.50.
Yeah, close. $7.95. Yeah.
Why? Why do you people do it? Why do you people go there? I don't get it. A cup of coffee should be $1.
Hey, you know what? Why are you giving me shit when I pull off to the side of the road to do the podcast? You should just be like bowing in my presence and saying, "Hey, Jim, thank you. Thank you very much." Instead, I'm getting shit for going to Starbucks. I'm getting shit for paying so much when I'm at Starbucks, which you're right about number two. Number two, it's really stupid.
I'm trying to understand people that go there. Why? It's first of all, it's not that good. Well, I mean, the coffee's terrible, number one. Just the black coffee
isn't terrible, but it's not as good as like an independently owned place.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you grew up loving the Sonics, Gus Williams, DJ.
Okay,
Sigma.
So if I hadn't have paid $7.95 for this today, would that have made a difference to Howard Schultz? Do you think?
No, but I mean,
because if I don't do it, there's going to be somebody else pulling in that hopefully their car alarm won't go off.
I get it.
They're going to come in and order a $7.95 oat milk latte.
I don't understand it.
The unemployment agency just gave me another $823, and I figured, why not spend $8 on a latte? What the hell?
I mean, the guy had a hand. He literally is the number one reason why we don't get to enjoy opening of the NBA season this week.
Yeah.
Because of him, and yet you go and put money in his pocket. I don't get people like you. I really don't.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I don't either. There's a lot of things about myself that I don't understand.
I don't. There's a lot of things about myself I don't get.
No,
either.
And like Evan was telling me, Jesus Christ, Jim, get it together. I've never really seriously, have you ever felt like you've had it all together?
Well, no, of course not.
I never have. I've never had it all together. I wouldn't know what that was like. Are there people out there that have it all together?
No. So do you feel like was there ever a point? No, of course not. No one has it all together. If they tell you they have it all together, then they're lying. Kate Upton, she's got it all together. She's the only one.
Kate Upton does.
She's the only one. And Jen Cohen. So
who?
Jen, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to entertain you. I'm not a monkey.
Come on.
I'm not a monkey.
I'm not in. I want to hear Jen Cohen. Come on.
I'm not in the circus right now.
I don't know what I'm going to do in Lincoln.
Stop it.
God, that just hasn't worked out.
You know what Canzano told me yesterday? I think he did it last week. They owe him. He told me yesterday they owe him $88 million.
They're stuck. They're like the Browns with Deshaun
million.
They can't do anything with him.
$88 million. So was there ever a point when they left, did you boycott the Starbucks at all?
No.
Okay.
I did not.
Right.
Am I going to be chastised?
Just curious. I'm just wondering. Yeah. I don't go to Starbucks because I don't drink lattes and any of that stuff. I just like coffee, and their coffee is terrible.
Well, okay.
Their drip coffee is bad. It's just not good.
Okay. Actually, I'll tell you this. I think getting a cup of coffee at McDonald's is better than a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Uh-huh.
And you can get it for,
Yeah.
can you still get it for $1? I think you maybe can. Or
Yeah. And
$2.
remember when they got that lawsuit from the old lady who like burned herself? They still have not solved that. It is still piping hot.
Well,
Like unbelievably hot at
but you
McDonald's.
need
And
it
they
to be
fill it
piping
right to,
hot.
I know, but it's really, and they fill it right to the brim. I mean, just
Yeah.
like right to the brim. It's a
No,
great cup of Joe. Now someone's
it
going to
is.
tell me, that's Starbucks. Well, shit.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so.
I don't
But
think it is, but
no, point well taken, though. I shouldn't be doing this. And I
Ah,
know how into the NBA you are and how much you want it back. And I know,
yeah.
and that's the thing. I mean, I grew up, I get it. I want the Sonics back too.
You love them. That was your first team. That was everyone's like your age. That's your first love affair because they were the first team.
I was 10 years old when they came to town, and
Yeah.
every single night I listened to Bob Blackburn, and I kept score. I had a little piece of paper,
Oh,
where I had Walt Hazard, and I would circle twos every time he made a bucket.
so
Bob
good.
Rule, the
Bob
Golden
Rule.
Rule. Bob Rule, big
Bob
lefty.
Rule.
God, he was awesome. Tom Masheri, Henry Aiken, Plummer Lott from Seattle U. God, I go way back. But yeah, I just am not into the NBA anymore.
Yeah.
And people say I'll be into the NBA. I'm not talking about me, but they say it themselves.
Sure.
Be into the NBA when the Sonics come back. I won't be, but I'm happy for everybody that wants the Sonics back, and I would like to be there the first night they come back to see, Detlef and Freddie Brown and all these guys.
Why are you not
there.
into it? Is it because they've been gone for so long? I mean, 16 years now.
Like the style of play.
Okay, you don't like the style of play.
Yeah, I'm just not into it, Puck. I feel bad about that. I love college hoops, high school basketball. I love all that, and I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. I go to Starbucks and I don't like the NBA anymore.
But what bothers you about, because there's probably other people out there, what bothers you about today's game? And if you say shoot too many threes, I'm going to call you out because when you played Chris Kidd and Horse, all you did was shoot threes. So go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What do you like about, let me just turn the tables on you. What do you like about the NBA?
I think.
Do you like it more than college hoop?
Oh, well, yeah, 100%. College basketball
you're saying 100%,
sucks.
But you're the same guy that says, oh, God, college football is so much better than the NFL.
I agree that, yes.
Okay. Well, that's the way I feel about college basketball.
I don't like college basketball.
For me, give me college basketball. Give me March Madness. Shit, give me the WCC that the Cougs are in this year,
Well, I'm
looking forward to all of that, but
sure.
I'm not sitting on the edge of my chair waiting for the Sonics to come back. I am for I want it to happen for people who are waiting for it and can't wait for it to happen. But me personally, I'm not. I don't really care about it.
Hey, can I answer the question that you asked me now?
I forget what the question was. Yeah, whatever.
You asked me why do I like it as much? Okay, I'll get this out of the way. I'm not into it as much anymore because there's not a team. Like I don't watch it religiously every night. I'm not sitting there like last night. I'm not like on the edge of my seat and like, oh, I can't wait to watch the Knicks and Celtics and all that. One, because we had football practice. NRB!
Eagles.
There you go. And then, but I got home and then I checked in on the Lakers and the Timberwolves because I wanted to see, the made up storyline about, the whole narrative yesterday. We're not sure if Bronny James is going to play tonight. We haven't even really discussed it. He's got to be able to come into the game, when it's a flow of the game. We haven't discussed this at all. And then they check in at the same time. I mean, that storyline last night, we'll get into it later. It was the dumbest storyline ever. The way they acted before the game, like they had no idea when they were going to enter the game together. He played 3 minutes. That's it. Because they wanted to have him come in the game. Okay, anyways. We'll touch on it.
I'm with you on that, though. I want to get into it later.
But we will. But what do I you asked me what I like about the game. One, I would say this. The level of skill and athleticism in today's game is off the charts. Off the charts. There's just nothing. You had a guy last year who was 7'3", who handles the bar like a guard. and Victor Wembanyama. Like, you've never seen that before, ever. I mean, ever. Chet Holmgren is the same way, the way that he plays. Kevin Durant's older in his career. But again, I just think the level of play and the skill set of these guys is so off the charts that it's so much more advanced than it was 10 years ago and 15 years ago and 20 years ago. But I think that happens with all sports. But especially with this sport, the game's gotten more international. You see more international flavor. Mentioned Victor Wembanyama. You look at Luka Doncic. I mean, there's just a handful of players, and it was reflected in the Olympics. You saw France take, Team USA right down to the wire and almost beat them. What do I not like about the game? The number one thing
I didn't ask you that.
I know, but I was just going to answer it anyways. The number one thing I don't like about the game is, what we see this week, right? It's, I think Joel Embiid has already come out and said, I'm not going to play back-to-back games. I just don't. The level of zero commitment, I think, to that pisses me off, and pisses me off as a sports fan, as someone, the ticket prices for these guys goes up and up and up and up and up. And the consumer, you and me and all the families out there, asked to pay all these crazy amount of money to go attend a game, right? Like, I want to go take, Owen, we go to a basketball game every year. We pick one game that Portland. Okay. We pick one game, and usually we look for a game on Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday of a good opponent. Well, this year, because this may be his last, I think he wants to go see LeBron in person. I think they play like on a Sunday. But I have no idea if he's going to play or not. See, but that wasn't a problem 10 years ago. Back in the day. It wasn't a problem. They played every single night. Every night. And these guys nowadays, it's like, well, maybe I'll play, maybe I won't play. Maybe I don't know. Load management. So that's what I don't like about the game. But the skill set, I love it.
For good reason. I mean, that's a good reason not to like it, because you like to think that the players on a team are trying to win every single night, and that they understand that it might be good for their future if they do the load management thing, but it's certainly in the present not going to help their team win the game that given night. And yeah. I just, as soon as you said that, I was trying to imagine Gary Payton, saying, hey, George, I want the night off tonight.
Yeah, load management.
Gary Payton would have never gone for load management. And it doesn't matter how much he would have been making. I mean, that guy came to play. I mean, he
every night
hurt all the time.
Every night.
There were games that he should have taken off. And everybody would have been, well, hey, Gary,
before people say, well, but they're trying to have the longevity of their career. Gary Payton played 17 years in the league. He played 17 years. Okay,
check out how many times 82 game season.
Jesus, I'm looking at it right now.
List, it's 81, 80, 82, 80, 79. I mean, this is his rookie season on
82, 79, 78, 82, 82, 81, 82, 82. The strike year, played in all 50 games at 31, 82 of 82. 2000, he was 32 years old, 79 of 79. At 33, he played 82 of 82 games. At 34, 80 of 80. And I'm just
I never covered a tougher athlete than Gary Payton.
At 35 years of age, when he was playing with the Lakers, he started 82 of 82 games. He did not miss a game at the age of 35. Yet we've got Kawhi Leonard and Joel Embiid and all these guys. Oh, I can't go tonight. These guys have won. I mean, and like Joel Embiid, he's won nothing. He's done nothing in his NBA career in terms of a teammate. So again, that's what I don't like.
Triple and quadruple of what Gary was making.
Of course, yeah. So I understand. I understand that, but the original question is why do I continue to watch it? I just you see, I just level of play that I've just never seen. A guy like Luka who just. That skill set is just, unbelievable. And, I'm still amazed to watch Wembanyama play. I don't think I've ever seen someone that moves like him.
Let me throw something else back at you then, because you like college football more than the NFL.
Right.
Well, in the NFL, you have players that are athletically so far and above what you're seeing in college.
Right.
Like, you're not seeing Lamar Jackson in a college game.
Well, yeah, you did. You saw him in college.
Well, yeah, I know, but Well, yeah, just like these NBA players you're watching, they were in college.
Well,
Or they
no,
were playing on
Wembanyama
some.
never played in college. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I don't know. He was on some European team.
Sure, I get
You
you.
could have
I
seen
understand
him
your
when he
point.
was younger. So, it's just different strokes, different folks, all that.
I find the NFL game boring. I find it really low scoring, boring football. That
Well,
they
in the
all
NFL, don't you
kind of
feel like
run
everybody's trying at all times? I mean,
100%. Yes,
but
just
in the
like Todd.
NBA, do you feel that way watching an NBA game?
Uh, no, because they sit out games. But college basketball, I don't like because these teams, and I know college football, the rosters change every year. But college basketball, like I mean, I think the Cougs have 5 new starters. I don't even know who the Huskies have. I mean, they've got 5 new starters, I believe. It's just like I used to love college basketball because you'd watch a guy come up as a freshman, and then I can't wait to see what he looks like as a junior. And there was continuity. Miles Rice is now playing in Indiana. The Huskies have getting and I'm going to talk about it later today. And hey, what the puck? But they give this guy, this great Osabor, $2 million. I mean, the amount of pressure that's on this guy. I mean, he asked for it, but what if he doesn't deliver? You paid him $2 million. $2 million for this guy.
Yeah.
What if he's a bust?
No, and very well could be.
But college basketball, the thing is with college basketball, they just don't play with the level of athleticism that you see at the NBA level. I mean, but
well, yeah, because they're college players.
Yeah, but they're the same age as these NBA guys. They're like a year removed.
I know, but there's a handful of them that are going to make the NBA. So yeah, I get it. The NBA is going to have better athletes than you're going to see in college, and yet you're talking out of both sides of your mouth because you like I'm football more than the NFL.
I'm not. College football is more exciting because the offenses are different. There's more scoring. There's the pageantry of college football. That's better than the NFL. Yeah. The NFL is boring, and everyone runs the same offense. It looks the same. It's a copycat league. It's not as exciting as college football.
Is it okay to have a different opinion though? I get the feeling that it isn't anymore. Like you can't because is it okay that I don't like the NBA and that I like college sports better? Is that is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No one's saying that I'm not yelling at you that you have.
Is it okay if I go get a fucking, oat milk latte at Starbucks?
No, that's not okay. That's not okay. No. I don't think anybody that claims to be an ex-Sonics fan should be going to Starbucks ever. Ever, ever, ever.
Yeah. No, I do. I mean,
it's poor form.
Honestly, I heard your podcast yesterday and talking about the NBA. It's absolutely ridiculous how long they're playing this thing out. It's going to end up being 20 years without a team in Seattle. And that's just absurd.
Who knows? Yeah.
It's just not right at all. Everybody knows that. And then you talk about the numbers that's thrown out there. I can't believe the owners are waiting around for that. Like, hey, we can get another $5 billion from another guy that's going to come into the league. What are we waiting for? And everybody knows that Seattle is a perfect spot to go to. Successful franchise for 41 years. And they were wrongly, done by, and why are we waiting this long to give them a franchise back?
I agree. They are running the risk of listen. They're running the risk of alienating a lot of people. They really are, and they've got at some point have got to give this fan base something. You got to stop dangling the carrot and give them the carrot at some point. At some point, you got to give them something. Because I know a lot of people that attended that Rain City Showcase a few weeks ago thinking there was going to be some announcement, that something was going to be said there. And then they came away from it, and you're like, where was the announcement? Nothing.
Hey, can we stop with the NBA coming to town with these exhibition games, too? I mean, I heard somebody talking about it. Might have been Ian or, somebody else about, this city doesn't have to prove anything about how much they love the NBA. They proved it for 41 years. They don't need to, come out and watch the damn Clippers play.
Yeah, but do you think that's
exhibition game?
I've never thought that is about trying to prove that Seattle is an NBA city.
What is it then?
It's a moneymaker.
I mean, are they just throwing us a little milk bone or something?
No, it's
here you go.
No, it's making money. It's just about money.
What those tickets go for? Were they through the roof? Like, what would you have paid to go see who'd they play? Clippers and Blazers?
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I can look it up. I don't know how much tickets were.
I mean, would you have paid
$100
to go to that game?
No, I've said this. I'm not gonna watch any basketball in that arena until they come back. That's gonna be my first basketball experience.
What if the Cougs played Gonzaga?
Well, okay, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Yeah, I think you'd go for that.
That doesn't count. You can't do that. You can't, because that's low-hanging fruit. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Rain City Showcase tickets. I don't know how much they were. I would guess they were over $50.
Courtside were probably $1,000 or $500 or something.
Oh, I mean, it was packed. It's always packed.
Yeah.
It was 17,000 people there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the latest on this now? 2026?
Well, it's not
2027. I know
it's not
Booth wrote
gonna
a story about it the other day.
It's not going to be next season, so because it's not going to be the 25-26 season. It's most likely the 26-27 season.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take too much ramp up time to, get it. And I don't like, why do we have to wait on Vegas? Like, that's what just bothers me about this. Who cares about Las Vegas?
Well, and I heard you saying that they haven't broken ground on the new arena. Well, they have 5 arenas already. They could just interim basis play in one of those, couldn't they?
Yeah. Or, I mean, I don't know.
I think the Knights, were the hockey teams playing down there? I'm sure they could play there.
And, I think Booth wrote that even 27-28. If it's 27-28, I mean, my God. I mean, I don't know why it takes this long. It should not take this long.
I mean, the only people in town who are happy about this are probably the Kraken.
Oh, it just gives them more time.
Samantha Holloway and her dad are involved with the Kraken too, but and they're going to be in charge of the NBA push. But I mean, the Kraken, it gives them a longer time to get a foothold.
Yeah, I know. Dan says Vegas already has 2 arenas. I know they already have 2 arenas, but I'm just telling you that they don't. That's not where they want to play. There's 2 new arenas trying to get built for this. One of them's led by LeBron. The other one's led by the other Lewicki. Is it Tim? Tim or Todd? Tim Lewicki. So they're waiting on that. So I just don't know why we got to wait for that to be done. I don't know why they can't just expand by 1 and just do it right now. I mean, part of it's probably the lawsuit with Warner Brothers and everything that's going on with the media deal, and they got to figure that out. But I think also is these owners know, because they're going to split the money 30 ways. They know they can just hold Seattle hostage because those idiots will pay whatever they want for it. So, hey, enough on that one. We went too long on this one. The Seahawks have made a trade. Jerome Baker has been traded and a 4th round pick to the Titans for Ernest Jones IV. He's 25 years of age. Jim, he's a 3rd round pick, 2021. By the Rams, traded to the Titans back in August for a 5th round pick. There's some highlights. He's number 53. Number 53. Look at that. That's a good tackle. He's number 53 in your program.
Look at that.
TFL. He's there. He's right there down the left side. This is a good little play against Caleb Williams and the Bears. Well, you just shove that center, bro. Jesus Christ. Watch that again.
I think that was more about that center being shitty than
I don't care.
Being good.
But watch him blow up this center. Boom! Jesus. I gotta watch this one more time. I mean, this really excites me. I get a little aroused with this. Boom! That's what Interbay is gonna do this week to Cedar Park Christian. Right there. That's the vampire in the middle. He's coming on a blitz. Boom! Look at that. There you go. So Ernest Jones IV.
Well, you like the trade? Can you assess it for us?
I mean,
come on.
I don't know anything about Ernest Jones. I don't know anything about Ernest Jones IV.
Well, act like you do.
Got 145 tackles.
Say about it?
140. I don't care about PFF at all.
Yes, you do.
I don't.
It makes you sound intelligent when you quote
no.
PFF.
This is why I dislike PFF. It's such a garbage site. It's so garbage at times.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It's one of the most garbage.
Most guys do the all 30 thing or all 50 or whatever the fuck.
Did you think Mike Jarrell played well last week?
Yeah.
Yeah. They rated him as like the worst tackle in football.
They
just
did.
yeah, that's why I don't like it. It's such an inexact bullshit science over there. And everyone, ejaculates on themselves when the PFF rankings got this and PFF this and PFF that. And then that comes out and you're like, wait a minute. They gave him like a 50 grade, which is terrible. I'm like, I don't know where you come up with that. Like, how do you come up with that?
And shouldn't you get a little slack too? Like if you're a fourth string guy out there and you have a fairly good game, that you should get A's anyway.
I'm not a big
curve a little bit.
Not a big PFF guy, but whatever.
I love that story though. You were telling me a little bit about it before the show started. Mike Jarrell and Findlay, Ohio, and being loyal to the small school. And I mean, it sounds like he played so well that we're not in any big hurry for Abe Lucas to come back anymore.
It's a great story. Condota did a great breakdown on him. He talked to his coach at University of Findlay and just about how, this guy was, he used the COVID year when they didn't play to get bigger, faster, stronger. He comes back out. A bunch of NFL or a bunch of college programs were visiting him. They thought they were going to lose him, to a bigger program. And just Jarrell had a great line. He's like, no, University of Findlay is what made this player. I'm staying put. God, wow. Just a rare day and age, rare, where someone actually keeps their commitment. So it was nice.
Yeah, and I'm happy for that kid, and I'm happy that Baker's out of town too, because you always tell me how bad he is.
Jerome Baker?
Jones is bound to be better than the guy that what the Titans see in him.
Well, they got a 4th round pick. Maybe that they're done. So they're like, let's get a draft pick. I don't think they probably wanted to lose him. But yeah, Baker wasn't good. I don't think Dotson's been that much better. They whiffed this offseason with their linebackers. And that is proof number 1 that they whiffed this offseason with their linebackers, that they're making a trade right now to acquire another one. They whiffed on it. They whiffed on those guys, and
are you back on board with the Seahawks now? It's so funny from week to week, where you go, God, they lost. They win 3 in a row, and you're thinking, well, nobody else in the NFC is all that good. Maybe the Seahawks can make some noise in the NFC, and then they lose 3 in a row, and you're going, well, that was stupid to think that. And now they beat the Falcons on the road by 20, and they look like they're contenders again.
I know, it's crazy.
And then they'll lose to Buffalo, and we'll be going, God, why did we think they were contenders?
They're very much an up and down football team. Hey, they're undefeated with Byron Murphy.
Yeah,
maybe he's the key.
I think God, what a fun deal. The Bills coming to town with Josh Allen. It's awesome.
I love it. Well, and they got the number 1 crew.
Oh, yeah. Tom Brady's going to be in town.
Tom Brady, Kevin Burkhardt, Aaron Andrews.
What have you heard about Brady? Because all I hear is that it's mixed at best, that he's off to a slow start as a broadcaster.
I don't know if this is 100% true, but I'm gonna go back and investigate it more. I heard, one of our favorites. I love him to death. Oh, Chris Russo, Mad Dog, talk about this one. He was ranting to Raven under his agreement with the Raiders, I believe. Now that he's an owner, like 10% owns the team, he can't attend practices. He can't go through walkthroughs. He can't talk to them.
Well, wait, he can't do the little sit down.
I don't know about
that. Do you think that affects his ability to do a good job as a broadcaster?
100%. Yeah, I think
100%?
so. Yeah, because I think these guys
showing personality. Is he?
No, what I'm saying though,
Tony Romo, at least Romo's different as a broadcaster.
But what I'm saying is he can't even attend any of the coaches' meetings. He can't go watch practice. He can't see what they're working on. Like all those guys, like Troy Aikman, all these analysts are able to do that, and they get stuff that they can use in the broadcast. It's called homework and preparation. He can't do any of it because he's an owner.
Yeah, but Burkhardt and what's her name again?
Aaron Andrews.
Yeah, she can pass. Yeah, but she can pass that stuff.
Yeah, but Fox paid this guy $375 million, and he can't do anything. He can't actually prepare for the games.
So they didn't factor that connection with the Raiders into the $375
I don't think they did. No, I don't think they did. I don't think they did at all. So, it's.
I heard he's just kind of okay, but not great.
He's not great. Hey, before you go, I got Rob Staton's waiting by. We're going to talk some Seahawks football here with Rob. We touched on it earlier. I want to get back to it. What did you didn't see it last night because you don't like the NBA because you prefer Starbucks. Does that sum it up, this show? What did you think of Bronny James and LeBron?
Well, I agree with you on that one. I mean, it's a nice story, and we all remember the Griffies. If we were old enough to remember it, how cool that was, especially the game when they had the home runs together.
Yeah.
But Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. both deserve to be in a Major League Baseball uniform.
Correct.
And Bronny James, you're right. I heard you talking about it yesterday. He shouldn't have been drafted. But no one was surprised when, oh my God, the Lakers chose him.
The Lakers got him.
I mean,
no.
Buck, we watched that kid at USC, and the best thing that we could say about him was that he played hard.
He plays hard. Yep,
but
he
did
plays
you
hard.
watch him and go, oh my God, he's going to be playing in the NBA next year? Well, shit, he barely was good enough to be on the floor for USC. And so
he was the fifth best player at best at USC, the fifth best player there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can make a case that they made a mockery of things last night.
They did. It was embarrassing. I thought last night, as someone who likes the league, I thought was one of the more embarrassing moments in the history of the NBA. I thought it was embarrassing. They trot this kid, and I'm embarrassed for him. They trot this kid out there like it's some circus animal. And he played 3 minutes, Jim. JJ Redick has no plans to use him at all. It's obvious to everyone. They throw him out there. He gets his one shot up. Actually, he gets 2 shots up, I think, in like 3 minutes. They take him out of the game, and it's all over. Go back and watch all of when they introduce him. The Laker fans don't even care. There was no ovation for this. They understand that the bit. I was embarrassed for the broadcasters. It was not Noah Eagle, but Ian Eagle. He was embarrassing last night. The Candace Parker was embarrassing. They're all like, what a cool moment.
Along with it.
Yeah.
They couldn't say this is a joke. I can't believe the NBA is doing this.
And even TNT.
And JJ Redick, I mean, his hands were tied.
And I was embarrassed for TNT last night. I thought one of them for sure, whether it was Barkley, Shaq, or Kenny, was going to be like, you know what? What are we doing here? And they didn't. Barkley kind of was the closest one because he really they would ask him about it, and then Barkley he was like a politician, would answer a completely different question. And I could tell that he was like,
they had to talk to Charles.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. This kid averaged 4 points and shot 29% from the field in the preseason. He does not belong on an NBA floor. And
do you think he's even good enough to be in the G League?
No, I honestly, I think he's going to struggle in the G League. No, it's not just about getting drafted 55th overall too. He got a guaranteed contract. No,
kid that should be playing in the Philippines or Turkey or something.
Well, because then they can listen to the podcast on iHeart. Basketball love affair in the Philippines, just about as bad as Dudes on Dudes.
I heard about you taking shots at that.
Well, come up with some new material, guys.
Before you take shots at Dudes on Dudes, why don't you listen to one of their broadcasts and maybe you'd like it?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't
Dudes
think
on Dudes? No.
Did you ever do the Philippines thing?
No, I don't think I'm going to do the Philippines thing. So, yeah, I thought it was embarrassing last night. It just
you think those Philippines guys are listening to you?
Yeah, I think they are. We're huge in the Philippines.
I don't think so. No.
Huge in the Philippines. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I know I can tell you're distracted. Is Rob Staton checking in?
Not distracted. Just got to go. Got to wrap it up. Rob's waiting by. All right. Good luck.
My cup is getting kind of low. I got to go get a refill.
Yeah, get some more
money.
Starbucks. Jesus.
All right. Love you, Puck.
Hold on. This is, Scott Powell. I used to go to Starbucks too. Now it's just too convenient. You know what? If I have the sound, Scott, you're on the barge too. You're on the barge. You're on the barge.
Oh, you're going to put me on the barge so I won't be here Friday?
You're on the barge. Well, we'll keep you
Troy
back.
Wins to yourself then.
No, we'll let you come back. All right, we'll talk to you on Friday.
All right, Puck. Go Cougs. See ya.
Go Cougs. There he is. The great Jim Moore, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday there with Jim Moore. We'll get back into the LeBron, Bronny James. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. All right, let's get to it. Let's talk a little football with Rob Staton. Rob's going to get angry with me because I've been making him wait for about 10 minutes. They're back. I had to get the rant off my chest there. I'm sorry, Rob. Rob Staton again joining us to talk all things Seattle Seahawks. He joins us every single week. Does Rob. It's all brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926. Superior Linen Service is committed to delivering the highest quality products and services in the greater Puget Sound area. Get your free quote today at suplinen.com. Give them a call, 253-383-2636. Hello, Rob. How are you?
Very good, Puck. Yeah, very good. A lot of interesting Seahawks news with this trade today. So, yeah, it's been an interesting last sort of hour trying to work out whether this is a good move or not.
Okay, well, what do you think? You've had an hour to digest it. For people that are just joining us, Jerome Baker and a fourth-round pick to the Tennessee Titans for Ernest Jones, the fourth 25-year-old third-round pick by the Rams back in 2021. He was traded to the Titans in August for a fifth-round pick. 145 tackles last year. We played a couple of clips with Jim. I mean, I don't know. I already like him better than Jerome Baker.
So the issue I have with the trade is that the Titans just paid a sixth. They gave the Rams a fifth-round pick and got back a sixth-round pick in 2026. So that is a negligible. That's giving the guy away to the Titans, quite frankly. They just let him go. It didn't even cost the Titans a pick, essentially. It was just a swap of picks in the draft after the next one. I don't really understand why the Seahawks now, when there's only 10 games left in the season, are giving the Titans a fourth-round pick next year. That value just does not compute for me. And I know I'm already sort of seeing the arguments, because I've made this point on Twitter and people are throwing the arguments back at me. And look, whenever a trade like this happens, all people want to hear is this is the best move ever. So I'm not going to do that. So I embrace that I'm going to get some criticism for saying this. But I think the value doesn't really make sense. I like the fact that he's a big, physical, thumping linebacker, and hopefully that will improve the run defense. What I would say is that when he played his best in the NFL, he got to play behind Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is not in Seattle.
Sure.
So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I really hope this helps fix the run. I don't know if it will. I don't like the value of the trade. And to me, it feels a little bit like the Seahawks should have fixed this problem months ago and should not be still 7 games into the season trying to find solutions to fix their run defense.
Hey, I agree with you 100%. And we did a lot of shows talking about this before the season started. I just did not like their linebackers at all. I mean, they got 2 rental players, 1-year deals with Baker. I don't think Dodson's been that much better as well. I think they've been poor at the linebacker position with those 2 guys. Does it change your opinion at all that they have an extra pick, which is now being reported on the 4th round? So they have an extra pick, and then they decided, all right, we have an extra pick in that round. Let's just use it for this guy. Here's where I would say that I like it. They had a problem with those 2 linebackers. It's specifically Baker. He just was not good, and they needed to find an upgrade. And would we agree that we think Jones is an upgrade over him?
Yeah, but I think there's layers to sort of how you analyze stuff. Like the Seahawks might have him for 10 games. Like what is the cost? What is the right cost for having a player for 10 games? And it may be a 4th-round pick. Maybe that is a fair value. But when the player was literally traded a few weeks ago for something it wasn't even like, well, he went for a 4th or a 5th in next year's draft a few weeks ago. He went for just nothing. Like the Rams just gave him away a few weeks ago to the Titans, and you have spent quite an amount on him. Now I've said, this is one of the arguments people have said. Well, Damian Lewis is going to bring a comp pick back, so you had 2 4th-round picks anyway. Listen, I don't think I never want to just give away picks, and this is part of the problem that the Seahawks have had, I'm afraid, over the last few years. They get to this point in the season, they have a problem that needs to be fixed urgently, and they overpay in a trade to try and fix the problem. And you can go back throughout the years, the Dwayne Brown trade, the Sheldon Richardson trade, the Javian Clowney trade. There's worse examples, trades that Leonard Williams a year ago where they gave a 2nd-round pick for a rental. Like they seem to do this a lot. And they went into the offseason with a lot of different needs, but we could all accept that two of the bigger needs were going to be if they lose Jordan Brooks and they're going to need to replace their linebackers, they're going to have to fix the run defense and they're going to have to improve their offensive line. And I'm afraid they didn't do a good enough job fixing the run defense and they didn't do a good enough job fixing the offensive line. And now they're kind of sat here looking for solutions. We're hoping that, Mike Jarrell's going to be an answer at right tackle. We hope that, that whoever plays at right guard can be better. And we're hoping that by giving the Titans a pick that they must be rubbing their hands, the Titans. Like they had this player for 7 games and they've managed to turn a swap of picks in 2026 to a 4th rounder. Wow.
Yeah, but it's a fifth to a 4th rounder. I don't know. I mean, that trade was back on August 27th. I just
next year though. It's next year. So it's 2026. So actually the value of the trade is less because it's a year in advance.
Yeah.
So they swapped a 6th.
But it's not like they traded for him like 2 weeks ago. I mean, this was back in August. Like I keep people saying that like a lot. Like, oh, well, it's 2 weeks ago. They didn't trade him 2 weeks ago. They traded him back before the season started. Like they had an issue at linebacker. I'm not saying, listen, I understand your point, and I agree with you that I just think this was something they did not address during the offseason, that they let Wagner go. I think all of us agree that was the right move to make. I mean, Wagner is playing well in Washington, but I agreed with it and still agree with it that they needed to, to move in a different direction. I just think the guys they replaced him with just haven't lived up to it. I think this guy now, based in large part, I agree with you. He's going to get a lot of praise for what he did last year. You're going to see a lot of, stories about how the Rams defense went from really good last year against the run to really poor. How much of that is Ernest Jones? I mean, I'm sure to a degree there is some of that. But to your point, a lot of it is because big number 99 is not in the middle of that defense anymore. That's why their rush defense has been hurt so much. But again,
can I give you an example on that?
Sure.
I mean, the Seahawks cut Bobby Wagner because Bobby Wagner didn't play very well. He then signed for the Rams, had a fantastic year playing behind Bobby Wagner.
Sure.
Behind Aaron Donald. Came back to the Seahawks and looked like the Bobby Wagner that the Seahawks cut 2 years earlier. Like playing behind Aaron Donald is a massive thing. Massive.
But he's playing well this year. What does Washington have?
Tennessee. You bet.
No. But what does Washington? I'm just saying, what does Washington have this year? Like, I don't know who's in front. I don't know who's in front of him.
They have Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, people like that.
Well, I think it's incomplete. I want to see how it goes. There's no telling that they don't end up signing him at the end of the year. I would just, to defend it for a second, which I do think there are some risks to the trade, to defend it in what I do like about what Schneider does. Now, his hit rate, I mean, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But to defend it as I think they recognized a problem that they needed to upgrade, I don't wring my hands with draft picks. I look at draft picks. You're not a big baseball guy. I'm a big baseball fan. I look at draft picks like I look at baseball prospects. I don't care about them. They're prospects. These are draft picks. They can find new draft picks elsewhere. I understand that some people get upset about this, but I want players on the field. And I think this guy is, I don't know, I've watched 2 clips of him, and he already looks like more impactful than Baker is.
I have no problem with trading picks, like 4th round picks, day 3 picks for players. What I have a problem with is, oh no, we have not fixed this issue, which was glaringly obvious. Now we're going to trade away. I think anything from sort of rounds 1 to 4 is what I would consider, valuable picks. They're the picks where you can get players who contribute in the first year or players who within 2 years can become very useful starters. And when you trade away a pick like this for a player that you might only have for 10 games, and it certainly is true that he could sign a contract extension and he could stay with the Seahawks for a long time. And if he plays very well in these 10 games and they re-sign him to a reasonable contract, I don't want to see them spend massive money on the linebacker position. But if they sign him to a reasonable contract, then no one will care, especially me, about a 4th round pick. But that's sort of like the extreme positive of scenario playing out here with this trade. The worst case scenario is that you've just, used an asset for 10 games of Ernest Jones. And I really, really hope, as a Seahawks fan, that will help fix the run defense. I just have this position on the Seahawks as they are today, that they're not a Super Bowl contender. And if you are not a Super Bowl contender, I don't really see the point in band-aiding holes and issues. Like, if Jerome Baker's not good enough, then fine. You drafted a linebacker in round 4 just this year. Give him some more reps. Like, that's kind of just how I feel about it. And again, like, the chances are that the picks in day 3, they don't produce the next KJ Wright in round 4 or the next Richard Sherman in round 5. But you have had some legendary players found in those ranges, and that's the thing. I don't know anything about baseball, so I don't really know how that compares. But I suspect there's probably a high amount of prospects who don't amount to anything.
Exactly right. I mean, and I think, but there's exactly the comp is that there people view like draft pick capital as like the holy grail of the NFL. And now I understand that's how the most sustainable way to build a football team is through the draft, because it's cost effective. They're not going to clearly cost as much as going out and acquiring, free agents. It's the same in baseball. You build it, it's all sports are all the same. Like, you build it through the draft, timely trades, key free agent acquisitions. I mean, it's the same thing, but we tend to, like, baseball fans will fall in love with like baseball prospects, and like, well, you can't trade this guy because, God, if we trade him, we're gonna give up on the next Ken Griffey Jr. But the reality of it is that most of the times those guys, they don't pan out. They're prospects, and then until they get a real taste of it, at the major league level, we just don't know how they're going to perform. And for draft picks, I mean, for every guy you take in the 3rd round and you think, or the 2nd round, or wherever you draft him, you think, well, this guy's a home run, guaranteed. He'll be a starter. They all talk the same way draft night, and then reality hits and you go, well, that guy wasn't any good. That guy was terrible. But the guy we drafted in the 6th round or the 7th round turns out to be the best player in the draft. I mean, there's so many examples of that, throughout the years of the NFL. They have, I'm looking at one website. This could be wrong, so I apologize, but I'm looking at one website, at least next year, for what they have next year. They've got a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, 2 4s, a 5th, 6th, and a 7th. Yeah. I would say this about, if I agree with you, and they are very much a roller coaster team, because last week we did the show and we're like, not a playoff team, not a Super Bowl team. They're not a Super Bowl team. We both believe that. I don't think they are. But right now, the way that the season's going, the way the division is going for you, and what San Francisco is dealing with right now, this is on a platter for them to win this division right now. The Rams aren't going to win it. I don't think the Cardinals are not that good. I think Seattle's better than the Cardinals. And then the Niners are falling apart. We got ACLs out for the season. Kittle's dealing with an ankle injury. Deebo Samuel's got pneumonia. There's criticism of Kyle Shanahan and his play calling abilities. I mean, there's just all this stuff going on right now. So Rob, it's kind of on a platter for them to kind of take this. If Ernest Jones IV helps them get into the playoffs, then to me it would be worth it.
So, well, there's 2 things that I was thinking while you were saying that. Was one,
I was long-winded. I apologize.
No, absolutely not. No, I was thinking, first of all, where you were listing all those things, because some of those things existed before Seattle played the Niners, and it irritated me to think that, the Seahawks just had a typical loss to the Niners on Thursday Night Football, because I watched the Chiefs play the Niners. It was our broadcast radio game over here in the UK. So I was hosting the show for the national radio, and I was really surprised how bad the Niners looked, given how they seem to just dispose of the Seahawks like they have done for the last few years. And then this Niners team have lost to the Cardinals. They've lost to the Rams. They don't look very good. They look too injured. They just don't look. I was speaking to Jeff, who I do streams with a few days ago. He said they look like the 2015 Seahawks, who also started 3-4.
Yeah.
I don't see them maybe having the 7-game winning streak that the Seahawks have. And it's frustrating to me that when you're listing those things, that the Seahawks didn't beat the Niners or at least give them a better game. So that was the first thing. The other thing is listen, I would love nothing more. You know, this is the thing. Like when you provide sort of critical analysis of the team, I just want to be honest with how I feel. Like I'm never going to come on, and it would probably do me a lot more in terms of YouTube views and hits and all of the benefits of that to just come out and say everything's great all the time. But I prefer to say what I honestly think.
Yeah.
And last week, and I still believe this after the Atlanta game, I said last week that I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the Seahawks had a 6-win season, because I think they need to build this team a little bit differently. I think they need to sort of be an inside-out team. They need to sort of completely embrace that there needs to be some changes in the structure of the roster to really emphasize the offensive line and pump resources into that line. Keep building up the defensive line and go into a complete reshape of the team where what is Seattle's identity and leadership? It's the O-line, it's the D-line, and that's where you sort of build this team. Now, if they bring in an Ernest Jones, demolish a fairly soft-looking Atlanta team, it was a great win. You know, it was a fantastic performance. They absolutely hammered the Falcons, and I was pleased. I enjoyed watching it. But what I don't want is to be a 9-win team again or a 10-win team, win the NFC West because the Niners have fallen apart, lose in week 1 of the playoffs and think, right, we're just another draft away from and nothing really changes. Like I always kind of feel like you need to be on the track towards glory, or what are you really doing? And I do worry that the makeup of this team, it's you go and put a band, you go and fix the run defense with a 4th round pick, and you say, okay, we're going to do that, and it might help you win the NFC West. It might not. You know, this time last year, everyone thought we were going to win the NFC West as well, and they traded for Leonard Williams, and that was supposed to be the big move. And then the Niners just went, no, hold my beer. We're going to go and win the NFC West again and get to the Super Bowl. So I hope that all happens. I just don't want this to paper over the kind of change that I want to see, which is for this team to sort of go, we are the Seahawks. We are going to kick you up the arse. We are going to be O-line, D-line, and you are going to hate playing us, because right now, I don't think they're built that way.
I think Rob, this is a move, and you know, I think the reaction from what they did, you know, in the Falcons game and how they looked, and I agree with you. To me, I took away from the Falcons game was what they did defensively against that team. And then especially because that was a good offensive team, and they weren't banged up, but you were. I mean, you're down 2 cornerbacks. You know, you're putting in guys that most fans had never heard of before. And Job, you're using Kobe Bryant at safety. I mean, there's a lot of things in that Atlanta game that were going against the Seahawks. I expected them to move the ball offensively because Atlanta's defense is not good. Like, I expected them to do the things that they were able to do. I did not think that their defense was able to do that. And the adjustments that they made from the first half to the second half, whatever those adjustments were. I mean, I need smarter people to talk about that, what they did from the first half to the second half to take out their running game, because the running game was working for Atlanta in the first half, and then it just didn't work in the second half. But I think they look at the rest of this NFC and go, I don't know, who's really better than us? I mean, I think we all can say that Detroit is a step above everyone right now. How much now since the Aiden Hutchinson injury? I don't know. Do you look at Washington as a major step up? I don't think that they look at like the Commanders or the Eagles, certainly not the Cowboys, of being so much better than them. Detroit, I think they would acknowledge Detroit, but I think they'd also say, well, yeah, Detroit with Aiden Hutchinson, without him, well, we'll see. I don't know what they would feel about the Packers and Vikings. I'm not quite sure how to feel about either of those teams. I don't think anyone's afraid of anyone in the South, and then we've just discussed the West. So I think Seattle looks at it and goes, shoot. I mean, this is kind of a watered-down bad NFC. We might actually have a shot here. I mean, all the powers in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, what I think, and you know, people may disagree, but I thought what really, it wasn't so much an adjustment against Atlanta in the second half. It was more a case of Seattle's offense was so good. You know, on Sunday, I thought Geno Smith was excellent. I thought DK had a much better game. I thought the offensive line performed better than expected, given that Jarrell was making his debut.
Sure.
Ken Walker was superb. And the fact that they kept scoring almost took the run away from Atlanta, because Atlanta had to suddenly play catch up. And they had to sort of urgently try and get back into the game. And it put the ball in Kirk Cousins' hands a lot more. And it wasn't so much that I think the Seahawks stopped the run any better. It was more a case of Atlanta just had to go away from it. And that could be a recipe to get out of this trouble. In fact, that is often how Baltimore took away the run last season. Like, Mike McDonald's defense in Baltimore was not very good against the run. But what would often happen is Lamar Jackson would come out, they'd put points on the board. They were nearly always leading very early in games in Baltimore. It puts that pressure on the other team to throw, and that's when you can feast. And that has to be the blueprint for the Seahawks moving forward. Get ahead of the score, apply that scoreboard pressure. Then that's when I think we'll see the best of Mike McDonald's unit. In terms of the NFC, it's a great point. Like, I don't think there are that many. I think what you have is you have a whole bunch of teams at the moment who are very flaky and inconsistent. So Tampa Bay, for example, can look terrific one week, and then they can look like they did against Baltimore for large stretches, or how they looked against Atlanta. They lost to Atlanta. So they've been so up and down. And then you kind of go through, like, the Saints look like world beaters for 2 weeks, and then they've lost like 4 in a row or 5 in a row, whatever it is. The Eagles look terrible one week, and then they just destroy the Giants. The sad thing is that I do think the Seahawks are very much at the heart of that group of flaky, inconsistent teams. They were destroyed by the Giants, who were awful. They did not put up much of a fight against the Niners, but then they are equally capable of going to Atlanta and blasting the Falcons. I don't think we know what we're going to get week to week from them. I just think that, like, this is going to be a really interesting game against the Bills. But you go back to where we were when they played the Lions, for example, and the Niners. What is this team? Like, if they can come out and play very well against the Bills and beat the Bills this weekend, it'll be a sign that maybe they are on the kind of track that you've discussed there. But I just don't know what to expect. I could easily just as also see the Bills have Seahawks number, and like Josh Allen just have his way with this team. And that's, I suppose, where I'm at. I understand what you're saying about, look, go for it, because what is the stopping you? But I suppose the thing that's stopping them is the fact that, like every other team, they are their own worst enemy sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, every team's going to have a flaw. And if we went through everyone's schedule, we could come out with, some loss that they probably kicked. I mean, other than the Lions, the Lions lost to the Buccaneers, and it was a 4-point game. I think to me, for a guy in his first year, what this would mean for them in their first year to go win the division, I think, to me, there's a lot of carryover for that. There's a lot of carryover for the next season, while still addressing the issues that you have, because it doesn't wipe away the issues you still have on this football team. They still have not built a quality offensive line. There's still a lot of room to grow on that side of the ball. In fact, I think there's a lot of room to grow on the other side of the ball. We've talked about the linebackers. I even think, there's room to grow on the defensive line. But so in your first year, after replacing a legend, you win the division. I think there's a lot of carryover that, because there's a lot of carryover in the Mike McDonald messaging. It also backs up, the chance or what they did, John Schneider and this ownership group to make that change. So, I think it'd be very symbolic if they were to win the division, even if the division is not as good as it has been. And part of that is because of what San Francisco is dealing with in injuries.
I think it's a good point. I don't disagree with that it would be a huge benefit to Mike McDonald. And look, it just creates buy-in. The fans, the players, everybody just get on board if you have success early on. And look, I want the Seahawks to win every game. I want them to win every NFC West. I want them to win every playoff game. I do not enjoy sitting 5,000 miles away, staying up till sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning to watch them lose. I want them to win every game. I just think, I just hope that what you said there is true. That if they do, that if they win the division, that we have the best of both worlds. That they win the division and then still shape the team. What I don't want, the reason I have this fear is because it happened so long in the past, and I always sort of blamed Carroll for that. But I think it's going to be interesting to see if things do change now that Carroll's gone, or whether it was maybe more shared blame between Carroll and Schneider, what they have tended to do is not fix issues. Kind of just say, let's run it back a little bit, another draft here or there. They have to fix this offensive line.
I agree.
It has to be better. And for me, Puck, it has to be better than just, we will spend our first pick on an offensive lineman and that'll be okay. It has to be wholesale. Like, they've got to build something here, and it's got to be that the kind of people you're building within the offensive line. It can't just be the best athlete. It's got to be the identity of the team for me. And then the other thing is, on top of that, I do think they still have to invest in, for example, quarterbacks. I don't think they can just rest easy if they, we've got Geno Smith, who's under contract for next year and be 35, and Sam Howell's still here. I want to see them start to draft and develop players and start to think about the long term while they're doing this. I don't want to see this team tread water, even if they are winning 10 games while doing it and winning a division, because I want to be great. I don't want to be good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. And I think they want that too. And I mean, and I think that I think there's no doubt there's smart football people over there. I think that they understand their deficiencies, because it's gone on for almost a decade with what they've put together on their offensive line. Now, have they drafted that? They've used draft capital on that. Have they used it in the right way? Well, clearly not. There's I can't even remember the last guy they gave a second contract to. Is it Britt?
Yes.
It's Justin Britt. So,
yes.
I mean, that tells you a lot about how, one, they've evaluated the position, drafted the position, and then given second contracts to. So whatever that issue is, and it's mind-boggling to me, because I believe, and I think we talked about this last week, I'm pretty sure Steve Hutchinson advises them on who to draft. And he's, the second best offensive lineman that's ever put on a Seahawks uniform. So I don't think it will cause them to I understand your worry that, hey, we win the division. They go, whatever. Let's say they finished, 10-7, win the division. Oh, okay. We fixed it. We're going to bury our head in the sand and not acknowledge, the elephant in the room, which is we still don't have a center in two guards. I still think they'll try to find it and address it and see if they can make it work. They did get some good news today. I'm just, George Fant. And Garofalo had alluded to this a couple of weeks ago with me that both those guys, George Fant and Abe Lucas, are going to start practicing, which opens up that 21-day window where they can decide. So maybe some good news is on the horizon for this offensive line. And maybe with all these healthy guys, they can mix and match and move some guys around and just get the 5 best out there that they could possibly have.
I think it's certainly very good news to have Fant and Lucas practicing again. And I think with Abe Lucas, I'm not going to get. I love Abe Lucas. I'm not going to get my hopes up that he's going to play anytime soon. I think this is just the next. I think Mike McDonald said this, hasn't he? That it's the next stage in the process for him to get back out there eventually in practice, and that's a good thing. But I don't expect that he's going to be back anytime soon. But having George Fant back is very good, because by all accounts, the noise is that he could be back this week. And if it's not this week, then it's next week. And then you have choice. If you want to play Jarrell again this weekend and he plays very, very well, he might just take the job and run with it. But if he has, and it wouldn't be a surprise if he had a rough outing, next time out, because he is a rookie at the end of the day, that you have the option of George Fant there too. So, you can, it's great news. I think George Fant was one of their better signings in the offseason to cover for Abe Lucas not being back. So to have him back is there. And I think that is a positive. I just think, for a team that was so aggressive to go and get a noisy box safety from the Jets, could we just be aggressive on the offensive line? Could we just go and by all means do something crazy there? If you want to give the Colts 2 picks for Quentin Nelson in the offseason, be my guest. There will be no complaints there. If you're going to go and invest in that level in the offensive line, I'm down with that. That's kind of what I'm waiting to see. And that's the thing with this team, is they have drafted linemen,
right?
But they haven't ever made sure they get a Joe Tooney. They haven't made sure who was the guy who they nearly got from the past.
They've missed. They have spent the capital. They have missed on the evaluation and the coaching of it. That's clear.
And they've missed on players who, not to suggest that me or any other fan has got all the answers, but there were certain players who, large sections of the fan base thought he'd be a great pick. The obvious one being Creed Humphrey. And, and the Seahawks were one of 30 other teams, and the Seahawks and 30 other teams passed him as well. He lasted to the end of the second round for a reason. So they're not alone in that. But, Joel Bitonio was a player I remember back in the day, who screamed like he's going to be a really good guard, and he's ended up being that for Cleveland. Like they've not been able to sort of take the, when there's like I was trying to think of a great, take the easy 6 yards. You know what I mean? Like get the check down, get the 6 yards, get your guard who's going to, play well for you for a few years. They've always sort of whiffed on that, and they've ended up either with like trying to go for the big over the top shot, or they've just got nothing. They've been sacked. So I think that I'd like to see that level of aggression in the offseason to fix this issue. And look, there's some linemen. I spend all of my time at the minute watching quarterbacks and linemen in college football. It's not a great O-line class coming up, but there are some good O-liners there. So they will have opportunities to add talent to this offensive line, and they're going to have to, because the left guard's out of contract, and so is the center.
Yeah, and we've talked about it again. The other news, obviously, besides the trade there for Ernest Jones, the fourth from Tennessee, and Jerome Baker now headed to Tennessee for a 4th-round pick, is that, and we were just touching on this one, but Abe Lucas and George Fant both has been designated to return to practice. Now, again, you'd mentioned it. The quote from Mike McDonald the other day did caution people when this was brought up, I think on Monday. It was Monday when he brought up. He tried to ease everyone and warn everyone that, hey, just because he comes back this week doesn't mean like he's ready to go against the Bills or even, the week after. His quote was, when he does come back, there's a process to get him ready to play. So even if he did start to practice, I think you're looking at a good chunk of practice time to get him ready to play in a game. So I would just caution anyone to think, all right, well, the offensive line's fixed now that Abe Lucas is coming back. It sounds like it's going to be a process for him. And the reality is that you have to acknowledge, right, Rob, is that he may come back and they may determine he can't go. He can't make it work. I hope that's not right. But if he does come back, I'd be interesting to see what they would, let's live in a fantasy world for a second. All right. I like fantasy worlds. I like hypotheticals. Do you like hypotheticals?
Sure.
Yeah. Why not? This whole platform's hypotheticals, right? What we do is the whole industry's hypotheticals. Let's say they all come back healthy. Is there something that you could do? Could you move one of these guys inside?
Yes, I think you could. And it's something I talked about actually in the summer. Was I don't know the answer to this. I'd love to interview an offensive lineman or an offensive line coach.
Okay.
Or somebody and ask them this question: would it be easier on Abe Lucas's knees to play guard? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it would, because if you think about it, he's just sort of blocking straight on, and there is some movement. If you're going to pull and stuff like that, you have got to get out on the move. But with tackle, you're constantly pivoting and turning your body and trying to get into position, and your kick slides there. Your knees are almost being put under as much strain as anything. I'd guess. I mean, I'm not a 320-pound offensive lineman, so
you're not. You look like it.
Now, believe it or not, I am not a 320-pound offensive lineman, but I did think, like, look, for the sake of his health and longevity, could he move inside? Now, no. I always thought he was the prototype tackle for the NFL. I mean, he had the frame, the length, the athleticism to play tackle. For me, he was an absolute. I had him as a fringe first rounder on my horizontal board going into the draft as a tackle, and I was punching the air when they drafted him in round 3. Thought it was an unbelievable pick, but now that he's had the injuries, would I be open to trying him at right guard? Yes. Could he be a great right guard? I think he could. And the thing that gives me the most optimism for that is that the Washington system, when Grubb and Huff were there, had tackles who kicked inside to guard, who were very aggressive in their style and their mentality. And that's Abe Lucas. So I'd love to sort of think that there's a chance that he could move inside if they wanted to. And if that helps him get out on the field and stay on the field, then I'd be all for that.
I was just trying to see if it doesn't look like Fant's ever played inside. I don't think he ever has. I was just trying to see if George Fant had ever played a little bit of guard. And I don't know, maybe I'm throwing it open to anyone. I mean, and I think everything should be on the table. If Abe Lucas could slide inside and play guard and you're comfortable with George Fant out there, or even say Mike Jarrell, okay, fine. I don't know if Mike Jarrell's ever played guard. I don't know. Let's find out. But, I just think that find the 5 best guys. I think these guys are all intelligent. They're great athletes. They're good football players. Let's find the 5 best guys and put the 5 best out there. And again, in this hypothetical world that we have come up with, that we love living in hypothetical worlds, we got 5 best guys, and Mike Jarrell, you go, hey, man, you're one of our 5 best. Let's say they determine that, but we want to slide you inside. You got to learn to play right guard. Okay. I mean, I think especially him, he'll jump at it. I mean, he's a rookie in the NFL. He wasn't supposed to make it. He wasn't supposed to be drafted. He's University of Fenley. No one knows where that's at.
Do you know what else I want to see from this offensive line is, and I touched on this last week, is that while they don't have these 2 guys, so you can see in the background here, Cam and Marshawn, set the tone. Like they were, wherever they were going to go, the rest of the team were going to follow them. And I'd love the offensive line to have that personality within the locker room, that everybody thinks. The example that I used this week was that when the 2014 Cowboys really should have beaten the Packers and played Seattle in that NFC Championship game, their identity was O-line and DeMarco Murray. Right. Tony Romo was the point guard off that, and everybody knew that those O-linemen were the dudes. And I'd love Seattle to have that. They don't really have that personality at the minute, so I'd love to see, as they eventually reshape this offensive line, which will hopefully come in the next year or two, that they are able to find the players that, like Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson and Tobeck and people like that, who were so much not just the talent of the team but the identity of the team, that they can create that kind of line again. Because I think that's the key to success. I think the Seahawks will be at their very best when they have an offensive line that can do that. And I know that you make jokes all the time, talk about it's a bit of a cliche, built in the trenches. Well, yeah. I think it gets said as often as it is because there is some validity to that. We've just watched Georgia beat the crap out of Texas because they beat them up front in the trenches. Right. It happens over and over again. That's where you win games of football.
Steve Hutchinson was 6'5", 315 pounds. Abe Lucas was 6'6", 320. Someone had said, well, I think he's too tall. I mean, I don't know. It's an inch. I mean, maybe there's an inch that somehow all of a sudden makes a huge difference. I don't think his size matters, but I don't know. Maybe
Washington had great tall guards last year.
Yeah, maybe they would disagree. All right, we kept you for a long time. Good discussion, sir. Nice flannel. Way to fit in for Seattle. Okay.
Yeah, I want to look like a lumberjack while I'm moaning about the Seahawks. So
there you go. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, man.
There he is, Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Rob joins us every single Wednesday, all brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926. They are committed to delivering the highest quality in products. They are the best. They serve the greater Puget Sound area. Give them a call and get a free quote today at suplinen.com or 253-383-2636, and stay up to date with Rob, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Video content, check out his YouTube page, Rob Staton Football. He's the best. Live shows after games, live shows during the week as well. And follow him on Twitter at Rob Staton. All right, we continue as we switch gears. We transition late to the program, but joining us from a classroom someplace in Havre, Montana, ladies and gentlemen, from the Seattle Times, it is Ryan Divish. It is our Mariners off-season report with Divish. It's all brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, proudly serving the community since 1941, located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District. Chalet Bowl has been family-owned and operated for the past 40 years. Check out their unique 12-lane experience and visit them at chaletbowl.com to book your next reservation. Substitute teacher today, what grade?
I am doing high school. I'm substituting for the agriculture teacher, which is in Havre, Montana. They have an agriculture program. So, they have in the advanced agriculture class, they're talking about beef or meat, retail meat. And so it's like they're doing a lesson on impossible burgers and impossible fake meat and and all this stuff. So it's very, look, I'm just a babysitter. I'm hanging out. They have stuff to do. I just pretty much tell them, if I get in trouble, you get in trouble. So don't do anything that the principal gets upset at me about. And then also don't Snapchat me or anybody else in class. That's the only rules.
Do you allow phones in class?
Once their stuff is done, I usually allow them, but they have to do their stuff first because that's the teacher's rules, not mine. I just want to point out I have the American flag in the background for Rob Staton because we won that one. You think that the Seahawks had a bad loss? How about at Yorktown? You think that Mike McDonald is a bad coach? How about Cornwallis?
Yeah,
we won that.
Yeah, I like to remind him.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about bad losses from the Seahawks. I mean, like, he's reminded every day that they have bad losses.
We were the underdog. What if we set a point spread on it? What were we? Like 16.5-point underdogs in that game?
We were the Giants versus the Patriots in the Super Bowl, but
you were a substitute teacher for an agriculture class?
Yeah. Agricultural, there's several agricultural classes. Advanced, intro, animal science.
Yeah. Where do they what do they feel about that fake meat, huh? I mean, this is going to kill their industry. It's going to kill their livelihood.
They're not. They were very skeptical. So, like I said, they just it's kind of just a little easier to just basically tell them, like, hey, just do this. It's like basically they're watching some documentaries and stuff and writing down thoughts and everything. So it's pretty good. Like, so in Montana, like, they're really trying to kind of diversify high school education because there are a lot of kids here that do want to go work on the farm or work at the ranch or, other things. So they do have a lot more specific curriculum versus just forcing everybody to do the same things over and over, like we were subjected to when we were in school. So it's pretty cool. Also, did you know that in Havre, Montana, they only go to school 4 days a week? They have Fridays off because of so many people are in activities on Fridays and the weekends that it's pointless to have class on Fridays. So it's Monday through Thursday. They go about 45 minutes longer. So from about 8 till 4 o'clock. But they have an hour, or they have a 45-minute lunch plus a study hall every day. They call it advisory. So 4 days a week.
Oh, I'm going to run that by the teenager. I think everybody here would sign up for that.
Oh, I mean, just like thinking about, like, for you on a Friday, knowing that you don't have to take somebody somewhere, and they like once a month they have what they call once a month they have a day where it's the school's open from 8 till noon and the teachers are here and kids can go in for extra credit and get help and all that stuff. But yeah, it's pretty smart because, like, I used to love subbing on Fridays because that was movie watching day because there'd be like 6 students in every class. It's like not that big of a high school, 600 kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, football's gone or band or concerts or whatever.
Is it because they've got to travel, like when you play, like when Havre plays, right there, they got to travel a while to play these other high schools, right?
Yeah, I think the shortest football trip I ever had was 3.5-hour drive.
Oh my God.
So,
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's why there's no class on Friday.
well, yeah, like they go to Miles City, which is in their conference. It's a 6-hour drive.
Oh,
And so it's like, they don't have anything short. I mean, they have a non-conference game coming up in Malta, Montana, which is an hour and 40 minutes away. So,
oh my goodness. All right. Well, Divish is here. He's going to be with us throughout the off season. I enjoy him being from the Havre High School classroom right now, teaching substituting for agriculture. It's our Mariners season, Mariners off season visit here with Divish, brought to you by Chalet Bowl. Last week we put Cal. Every week we're going to do a new subject, a new topic. Sometimes it'll be the individual player or just an overall theme. Last week it was Cal Raleigh. This week we're putting the center fielder under the microscope, Julio Rodriguez. Sum up his season. What went right? What went wrong?
I don't think a lot went right for him. maybe the last month and a half, 2 months, maybe you can construe going right. I mean, some people will date it back to July 1st or whatever. There was some injuries and other stuff involved. So I thought what you saw at the end of the end of the season was promising, but like an overall grade, yeah, it's well below his standards. I mean, his standards thus far in his MLB career, but prior to the season, were two top 10 finishes in the American League MVP race. So, yeah, not what he wanted. I think it was, a lot of times players will have an adjustment period to the Major League Baseball where the league adjusts to them or finds out ways to beat them, and how do they adjust. And I think Julio's came in this third season where sometimes it comes in the first season, sometimes it comes in the second. But I think this third season really was an adjustment for him on how teams were attacking him, but also just like some of the changes he made and some of the things he did, his mindset, all these different things. And I think it was it's a very high level of growth for him this year in terms of learning about failure and how to cope with it, how to improve upon it, and how to kind of bounce back from it. Because it wasn't exactly like, oh, he struggled for a month and everything got going, or even like last season, or in 23, where he struggled for the first 2.5 months and then really got going. This was just kind of pretty much inconsistent and unproductive for 3/4 of the season.
Well, I mean, I mean, if he knew what the problem was, if you knew what the problem was, I'm just going to ask you to speculate and guess, but they would fix it. But the slow starts, or just getting off to these slower starts, because I don't think it's been every year that he's done. I mean, one, it's his rookie year, and that's was part of the the baptism there by umpires with him. But what is it that maybe he could work on or wants to work on? Maybe he's expressed it to you about getting off to better starts. Is it eliminating the number of voices and people giving him advice and then solely just focusing in on one, and that one being Edgar?
Maybe. I think, yeah, I think there's a lot of voices, and they're not all baseball related in terms of like pushing him in directions and pulling at him in different directions. I mean, he's still 23. I think there's a lot of aspects of that. From the hitting standpoint, yeah, I think that he fell victim to some thinking about changing up his swing, changing up his approach, doing some different things, and even like hearing what other people say, even people within the Mariners organization, talking about what they hope to get from him this year. We heard a lot about pulling the ball in the air to left field and all this other stuff. I never was a big believer in that. I always felt like he could pull the ball in the air if it happened properly. But I think, one, it's the mindset of where do you hit the ball best, and understanding that power will happen. If you have, like Nelson Cruz always said, home runs were kind of a mistake. He was always trying to hit hard line drives to center field as hard as he could to center field. And if he pulled a homer, it was because, he was ready for a pitch, or the pitcher made a mistake, and it was almost a reaction to a pitch. So I think that mindset of staying to all parts of the field. And then there's the mindset of understanding what teams were trying to do to him. Like, look, he was very susceptible to the sinker on the back foot. Teams would throw that 95-mile-per-hour sinker in on him, in on his hands, in on his back foot. He just didn't have he didn't have the swing timing or the swing trajectory to hit that pitch, but he kept swinging at it, and then they would expand once he got to 2 strikes. So there's that mindset, the approach aspect that we always hear about, that he has to adjust to, and I think we started to see that at the end. But then it was also just the swing aspect too. Like, he did some stuff with his legs where he tried to simplify it, and it worked against him. He didn't use his legs enough. The load was all messed up, and then people talk all about, oh, it's just the mindset. It's just Edgar telling him, oh no, you got to stay in the middle of the field, or this or that. Now, like, Edgar moved his hands back a little bit in his stance, moved his hands back at his setup, changed up a few things with his stance and setup, and Julio had been resistant to some of that change before because he felt like the work he had done had fixed it. But, Edgar made some suggestions and it came around. So I think all those physical aspects, and I think just basically what he needs to do is take the hitter he was from the last month of the season and continue to work on those aspects, and focus on those things that he did right in that last part of the season, and go into this offseason doing that, and don't make a bunch of changes. Don't do too much to change what you were doing in the last month of the season. It was right. And I think sometimes guys, and we heard this with Corbin Carroll, we've heard this with other guys, tinker too much in the offseason trying to find a little bit more and a little bit more, when really a little bit more will come from just being a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and a little bit smarter about what you're trying to do.
So I'm just trying to think, did we see a big change in his swing like at the end of the season? This was in September. I mean, did you see like his setup?
Yeah.
Does it look different than it was in the beginning of the season?
Yeah, the setup is a little different. Little wider, legs a little bit, early on in the spring and even early in the season, he was very kind of more straight-legged, more upright. And then what he would do is sink, and then he tried to hit. And then midway through, he tried to re-engage his legs more because he felt like he wasn't using his legs. So then he would sink really hard into his legs, change his eye level, and go, here are these ones that you're showing. It's just a very simplified, yes, he's using his legs. Yes, but it's not a huge sink. He's just kind of letting it be more natural, be more athletic, and not force loading back to get forward, and not also just kind of like being static in the box. He's just being athletic. He's being loose. The hands are back, and then just let your talent take over a little bit instead of getting caught up worrying about where everything is. It's like if you're up there worried about where your hands are at or what your legs are like, or do you have to load back or load, you're gonna get beat because these guys throw so hard and the ball moves so much.
Yeah. He I think even with that one, that he hit out, you still see him now, and it's, maybe it's just the natural swing of it. You still see him kind of falling over a little bit. That's the one thing that I've noticed a lot about him. And again, I mean, he just seems that when he swings, whether he makes contact or misses, it's always that falling over the plate, that he doesn't stay on balance. And I wonder how much of that, has led to some of his struggles. Ryan, he clearly was better in the, that last month plus of the season. Certainly when Edgar took over. I know everyone wants to give all the credit to Edgar Martinez, but part of it's got to be Julio listening to him as well. You've been adamant when we've done the shows during the season. It wasn't so much like, and you've touched on it here, it's not like he's giving him some great advice. I think he's just saying, hey, man, you need to block out a lot of this stuff and go up and just hit the ball.
Yeah.
Just hit the ball. And that's probably been the greatest advice, I would assume, that Edgar has delivered not only to him, but to the other players on the team.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that's part of it. Jude wrote some stuff about Brant Brown and being too fine or too, and we've talked about it on here too, just too trying to be too precise, looking for one perfect pitch every time or whatever. And I think a good plan is just to go up there and compete and be athletic, because like all the work on your approach and all the studying and stuff you do is pregame, so that when you get up there, then it's just about playing. It's not like, especially like from a mechanical standpoint, you don't want to be up there worried about where your hand's at, or, do I have to load now, or do I have to start my swing now? No, it's just like get up there and know that you've done the work, clear your mind. I think that's a big part of it. Like the falling over, I thought was less dramatic. I think, part of it was like you said, he was really stiff-legged, then he'd sink in his legs, all of his legs, all his body was moving around unnaturally. There's going to be some times where he falls over a little bit because he takes daddy hacks at it. I mean, like, what are they like? There are times where you're like, hey, man, you're going to give yourself hemorrhoids if you swing so hard. But like he's, that happens. I mean, like you're watching some of these other guys play right now, and those guys take hacks too. I think what he did realize, though, is that he doesn't need to search for extra power. He doesn't need the Jared Kelnick thing where you're trying to hit the ball 400 feet when just hitting it 375 is pretty workable. So I think he learned a lot about himself. Scott Service before he was fired and stuff, and when Julio was really struggling, said, with star players who have never struggled, they have to sometimes struggle or hit a rock bottom point or a bottoming out point to realize that what they're doing isn't correct and that they can't just always do what they've always done. And sometimes you have to make changes. And I think that happened to Julio. And I think it happened probably sometime, right around when Service was fired. That's bottoming out point. And all of a sudden he looks around and the manager's gone. The one hitting coach was gone. The other hitting coach is gone. And, you're left to figure out, okay, well, what do I do to get better? And I think, listening to Edgar helped. I think having Edgar there, the cachet of having Edgar there helped. But it wasn't like Edgar wasn't there before either.
Mm-hmm.
I think Julio got to a point where it's like, well, I'm like 4 months into my season and everything I've tried isn't getting better. And maybe I better listen to some very fundamental stuff about my approach and my swing that needs to change so I can change.
It's amazing that these guys tinker as much as they do. Don't you think? Like, I always think, like, with baseball players and golfers.
Yeah.
Like, they have so much success, but yet they just can't help themselves from tinkering with their swing. I mean, Tiger Woods changed his swing 6 different times. I mean, it was remarkable. Maybe it's not quite, I'm being dramatic, but I mean, and did it at a time, if you remember back in the day when he went from Butch to Hank Haney, like, he's winning majors, like, he's the best player in the world, like, he's winning every week, and he's still like, yeah, I got to change that. Like, I'm not happy with it. It is baffling to me that they do it, and I'd like to know, Ryan, the psyche of it. Why? I guess chasing perfection.
Yeah,
which is unattainable.
They're chasing perfection. They're chasing for a feeling where, where it doesn't feel like they're trying to swing harder. It doesn't feel like it feels right and it feels easy. And it probably never comes. But I think part of it too is like throughout the course of a season, guys pick up bad habits. Guys do things that they don't necessarily know they're doing. You get older, your body changes. Sometimes it's compensating for a physical ailment. All those different things factor into it. But it's also like, it's like, why did Barry Bonds go to Balco? He was 3-time MVP.
Yeah.
But he couldn't handle what the Chicks Dig the Long Ball commercials and all the love that Sosa and McGuire are getting. Like, these guys, ultimately, too, they want, they're kind of egomaniacs. They don't want to, they want to be the best. And like somebody like Julio, who has had so much success already, like, he only wants to go farther. I mean, like, he wants to see, he wants to ascend to those levels of production like Judge or Soto or whatever. It's different too. Like, remember, like with Russell Wilson, his greatness, he always wanted greatness, but it was the notoriety that came with greatness.
Yes.
He wanted to be recognized like Brady.
Right.
And like, but like commercially too. He wanted the national stuff. He wanted to be recognized like all those guys. And for the kind of the perception, Julio wants it from the production standpoint. Like, he wants to be the MVP because he wants to be up there with these guys in terms of the numbers that they accumulated, not the notoriety of being in a Campbell Soup commercial or a national campaign. He wants to be considered one of the best players when he steps on the field. That's the difference, kind of the mindset that you see.
Yeah, no, I think of, I know he does commercials and he's in the forefront. I think of Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is chasing it so he can talk about his own legacy. I think he's chasing it, and he's chasing that carrot, which is Tom Brady, because he knows that if he's the best quarterback ever and has the most rings, then the team's got the most rings.
Yeah,
and they can surpass that.
And some athletes, that feeling of success on the field is just an addictive drug that that's what Brady couldn't, Justin Turner, Brady, these guys, like guys that stick around for a long time, there's an addiction to it. They're addicted to that feeling, the camaraderie, the success. And I think that's part of Julio. Here's a guy that top 10, rookie of the year, top 10. Like he sees himself just ascending to those heights of like these other guys. And so, if you see yourself going to these places, then that's why you also do something like that. Like,
do you think he struggled with the responsibility of putting the organization on his shoulders?
I do. I think he does. He's very hyper responsible about that, and like the idea that he is kind of the face of the franchise. It manifests in different ways, but you see that. I mean, he knows that there's a lot expected of him, and he expects a lot from himself.
Yeah.
How he does it is different than maybe how Cal does it, because that's another thing. Like, yeah, we talk about how Cal is kind of like the guy and the leader and everything else, but nobody bequeathed that to Cal when he was 17. This kid has, since he's been 16, 17, 18 years old, has been looked to as the guy that's going to lead the Mariners out of this. And as a rookie, he got to experience it. Again, that's that whole drug, the addictive thing. Like, oh my God, as a rookie, I've done this. Well, if I just do this a little bit more, I just fix this, then I'll help us go even farther. And that's what guys get caught up. It's like the whole, like we hear it 1,000 times, don't try and do too much or just all that other stuff. But in a way, it's smart. Like the other problem being, though, he's not stupid. He looks around, and if there isn't a lot of other talent there, or the talent is lacking, or other people are underperforming, then he believes he's good enough to fix it himself and carry him. And maybe that's the wrong way to think, but I'd rather have somebody that carries that responsibility and carries that mindset. Well, like, damn it, I'll step up if I need to, versus somebody who doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the thing is like, I'll pack it in. Oh, we're not very good this year, so I'm just gonna, pack it in, and like I'll play hard as I can, but I'm gonna be just slightly more involved than Anthony Rendon. I mean, like, that's not what you want. You want somebody like Julio who takes it personally when the team loses, when the organization fails, because especially when he struggles, because then he holds himself personally accountable for those failures, more so than maybe the average player that was brought on in a trade or free agency.
Best spot in the lineup for him. They have really gone, it's all over the place with him. I mean, they've used him everywhere, and they don't feel like they've ever found a comfortable spot for him. I wonder if does that lie some of the issues with him at all? It's like not finding him a comfortable spot and just leaving him there. If there is one spot, what is it for him?
Yeah, I don't know if he really cares. Like, if there's one spot, I mean, I think he wants to be in the top 3 or 4. My thinking is as well as he runs and still as talented as he is, you want him in those top 3 spots, probably at 2, because it's a half a bat per game, or almost a more one plate appearance per game over the course of a season. So I think that's you ideally want him there. I mean, like, you do run into the weirdness of back-to-back righties, though Robles hits, fine if you're going to leave Robles at the top of the order. The one thing I do worry about, like, with that, though, is Robles does some goofy-ass stuff on the bases. So then, like, you don't want him doing that with your horse up there.
Yeah.
It's one thing to steal second, but, like, sometimes taking third when, Julio's up, I mean, I just don't always like that. Unnecessary risks is what I would say. So I'm guessing 2 or 3. That's probably most ideal. I mean, like, he still runs so well. You're probably one of your best base runners, so you'd like to have him up, and like having him in front of somebody like maybe Cal or Randy who do swing and miss a little bit. Well, yeah, then you want to capitalize on that stolen base a little bit more too.
Does this is not Julio related, but just in terms of the payrolls, we got the World Series that starts on Friday. Is there commentary on what we saw in 3 of the last 4 teams that were alive? They were 3 of the teams that spent the most money in baseball. These are the 2 teams, 2 of the 3 teams that will play on Friday, spending the most money in baseball. I listen. We go back and forth on this all the time because there is there's a correlation to how much money you spend, and over the years of how many of these teams are still alive. There are certainly always going to be the exceptions. I mean, the Guardians would have been that exception, but when you're a Mariners fan, Divish, and you look at these two teams and you look at their payrolls and go, well, can we spend a little bit more money? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would tell Mariners fans that's perfectly acceptable belief. I mean, like to sit there and think that they're gonna, and I get there's no salary cap, and I get that they're gonna go do the same things as the Dodgers and the Yankees. It's just not viable. The revenue streams for the Dodgers and the Yankees and the way the population bases allowed them to carry that payroll a little bit higher. Padres don't necessarily have that, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to me, having additional payroll and having flexibility beyond operating at your operating at just basically where your budget is set and like not having much, like having more payroll per season is insurance in a lot of ways. You're spending more money for presumably quality talent so that you're not always trying new guys at different positions. Or you know what, well, you know, the second base thing that they've done for so many years until this year where they actually went out and got a guy. But you know, in the years past, well, you know, Ryan Bliss looked really good for the last, or not Ryan Bliss, but Shed Long looked really good for the last month and a half of one season. Let's try him there. You know, Dylan Moore looked really good in 2020. We'll try him there. It's like all these different things. Whereas like, no, we have the money. Let's spend some money, go out, or you know, use that money to go out and get a guy. Also, it's payroll means maintaining your talent so that you're not having these questions about Logan Gilbert being too expensive or Cal Raleigh being too expensive and how that affects you from adding other talent that isn't in the organization. With, you know, that to me is what it is like, you can look at how do you get better or how do you want to improve. Well, if you have some money and you feel like you need a veteran arm in your bullpen, maybe you go out and spend $7 million a year on a reliever. It's not always the best business in the world, but like if you feel like that's your one piece that you need to get to make you take you over the top, then do it. Like have that flexibility. You know, for the Mariners though, it's more about bringing in an impact player at premium positions to supplement a lineup that's lacking. You know, like first base, third base. Those are premium positions where you generate power and you generate run production and you're using modified platoons. Like Luke Raley is a good player and he can play a lot, but like you need to have a counter to it. You need to have somebody else to help out there. You know, with third base, Josh Rojas was great defensively. What did they get from there offensively? You know, for what you, I mean, like what you get from some of these other teams, you know, and not like the Yankees don't have like horses at every position, but the horses that they have at certain positions offset maybe some of the other stuff. You know, like Rizzo's not the same player he used to be, but you know what, you can when you have Judge and
Soto and Stanton,
and a healthy Stanton, then you can get away with it. You know, and even Gleyber Torres, who you know seems to have gotten motivated to play hard in the postseason. Like, I just think it gives you more flexibility, and it's not perfect because like, look at how much money the Dodgers have spent, but they're still piecing together their pitching. But that's a factor of injury,
right?
You know, I mean, like if the Mariners had the type of injuries that the Dodgers have had this year, would they win? Would they have won 84 games or whatever they won? Oh, they would have lost. They would have lost 100 games if they lose four starting pitchers. Yeah. So it's like that's what money affords. Money affords you to offset the possibility of struggling players or unproven players using them on a daily basis. And it affords you the luxury of going out and adding players without, you know, where you're not just worried about the prospects given up and the money taken on. It's just prospects versus, okay, we have the money. Like, we'll take the money on because, you know, that's what the Mariners. The Mariners never just trade based on prospect talent versus acquired talent. It's the payroll factor of what the guy's making is always plays into it. And that's different.
Finally, on Saturday at 12 o'clock in northern Colorado, they're 1-6, 1-2 in the Big Sky. Will take on the Grizzlies of Montana, 5-2, fighting for the Big Sky Conference title, huh?
Yeah.
Let's go, Grizz. This should be an easy runaway victory for your Grizzlies.
It should. It really should. The Grizz will still manage to give up at least 30 points because that's what they do. But that's okay. I'll take it. I just keep winning games so we get to that last weekend or that third weekend in November when we got to play
Yes, sir.
Bozeman. So, in a couple weeks, I got Larry Stone and Adam Jude, young Jordan Stone.
You're going to a game.
Yeah, Alex Mayer, Daniel Kramer, Jerry Brewer. They are all arriving in Missoula, Montana.
Jesus. For what game are you going to?
They're when UC Davis comes in.
Shout out to UC Davis. Wow. They are in – and it's a 7 o'clock game.
Oh, my God. We're going to die.
Jesus. Well, I'll tell you who won't be there for the kickoff. Jerry Brewer.
Oh, he's a sleeper. He'll fall asleep.
Will not make that kickoff. Book it. There's just no way. They're not going to make it.
No, he's a sleeper.
Yeah. He's going to hit the bourbon too early, and it's just going to be a nightmare. And you're going to have to carry him around, and it's not going to be good for anyone.
Yeah. And then he got all skinny too, so he doesn't have the girth to carry the.
Because he doesn't drink beer anymore, so he won't pace himself with some beer throughout the day.
Yeah.
Some light beer, because he's going to go right to the hard liquor, and that's not good for anyone when you start drinking it probably at 11 a.m. or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, this has all the makings to be a total shit show.
Oh, to makings! I can't wait. Please, I want documentation of this. I can't wait for this. This is going to be unbelievable. All right, we took up too much of your time today. Next week, our more off-season. We'll be taking a look at, I don't know, I think the pitchers. I think we got to spend some time on the pitchers. Who will they trade? Who will they not trade? Are they going to trade any of them on next week's off-season talk here with Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times, all brought to you by Chalet Bowl. In case you missed it, everything will be up on the podcast later, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts, and, of course, up at pucksports.com. What's on are you teaching again tomorrow?
Yeah, it's 2 days worth of subbing.
Okay, same class, agriculture again?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I got that Vegas trip coming up for Akita's birthday.
So he needs some more money. I love it. That's a good. All right. Well, good luck with do you have to do anything? You have to make the plan for tomorrow right now, or what's the rest of your day like? Are you done?
No, I just pretty much just tell the kids not to bother me.
Okay, that's wonderful. What a great substitute teacher. All right, Divish, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, see you, man.
There he is, Ryan Divish, Seattle Times. He joins us every Wednesday throughout the offseason. Big thanks to Chalet Bowl for that, to give you a little offseason Mariners talk. Next week, week one of the offseason was talking about Cal Raleigh. Week two, Julio Rodriguez. Next week, week three, we'll talk about the starting pitching and what direction will they go in next offseason. Do they trade any of them? Do they trade nobody? Do they move Castillo? We will examine all of the pitchers next week there with Divish. All right, before we go and wrap up a very lengthy, long daily puck drop today. God, I need a break. I need some water. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to work in a commercial break. We'll be right back for like a 2-minute break. Hey, What the Puck is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. The Cougar football podcasts are out. They release every Wednesday at around 7 a.m. The Old Crimson podcast with myself, Paul Sorensen, Jimmy Moore, and then Jamie Vinnick of Coug Fan. It is up there right now on all the podcast platforms. Give it a listen in anticipation for their San Diego State game. We talk about Hawaii, the good and bad from Hawaii, the defensive changes that they made last week. No doubt John Mateer's best performance from the pocket last week. And a lot of that credit goes not only to John, but also to Ben Arbuckle. I thought had a great game in play calling. And we talk about Of course, Jim had to bring it up, is the fretting over losing John Mateer next season in the transfer portal. It got started because of their decision when Jackson Potter came into the game, who is really the third string quarterback and not Zevi Eckhouse. And they're trying to preserve his red shirt so he can play next season, whether it's at Washington State or someplace else. And then we kind of morphed into talking about John Mateer's future. So that's available right now. Go check it out. Also, what is available, Cougs Corner. We do it every week. Jake Dicker will be on again next week. We either talk to Jake Dicker, a coach, or a player. I've had a blast talking to all the players. Mateer, Kyle Thornton, Kyle Williams was last week. This week's episode with Wazoo kicker Dean Janikowski was my favorite. He is a phenomenal kid. Really good. And we started off because I came clean to him. And I was upset, and I'm watching the San Jose State game. And Dean's had a rough last year and then even into this year where he's missed some field goals. And he, in the San Jose State game, had missed an extra point when we would have tied the ball game up at 38. And you're thinking, that missed extra point now is going to cost us the game. And I'm like, I tweeted out like an immature fan, I don't want to see this guy ever kick again. And then later, he lines up and hits the tying field goal from 52, puts us in overtime, Cougs win. So I told Dean this story while we were recording. I said, listen, I'm gonna tell you what I did. And I read him the tweet and all that. And he handled it perfectly. We had a good laugh about it. I said, take some shots at me. But it was a great conversation with a college kid who's much more mature than me, just about life in college in this day and age, social media pressures, the pressure of being a kicker on a college football team, dealing with yahoos like me on Twitter. But this is a guy that just gets it. He's there for an education. He's there to have fun. He's there to play football. If you don't know Dean Janikowski's story, more than a kick, he has a fundraiser, a foundation for his mother that he lost 3 years ago to cancer. Every PAT and field goal that he makes, there's a charity, a donation you can make to his charity for his mom. He's raised over $100,000. You can visit his website, deanjanikowski.com, for more there. You know, he is a content creator. He's getting into the YouTube space of creating content. He builds motorcycles. He rides motorcycles. He's a golfer. He's an avid golfer. He's done just a lot of good, for himself. And you don't even have to be a Coug fan to appreciate this interview. Because he just was a good guy. Like he's squeezing every ounce out of life is what you should. But it was a fascinating conversation just in terms of, I think a kicker dealing with the pressure of being on a football team, which is a team sport, but when you're out on the field, it's just you. It's similar probably what Grady Gross is going through at Washington. And he has had his struggles this year. That when you win as a team. When you lose, it was the kicker's fault. But what about the hold? The hold was bad. The snap was bad. They don't matter. It doesn't matter. It was the kicker's fault. It was a portion. Here's a little bit of our conversation that we had this week with Washington State kicker Dean Janikowski.
Missed the extra point. I was kind of having a struggle with, I would freak out mentally. I would see a bad hold, or I would see this looks weird. So I'd freak out and whip my hip. So I missed it left. I whipped the ball. I missed it left. And that hurt us because it was 37-38. And so rather than just pouting and being upset, because we had about a minute and 30 seconds or something like that, I knew we were going to kick off the ball. We had to get a stop. We get there. John has 30 seconds to run the ball down the field. And I knew I had to be ready. That was the biggest part, was just staying super positive and staying present, because it's very easy to be like, oh, I suck. This sucks. I'm going to get a bunch of guys that live in a college dorm room still, and he's going to comment on Twitter and say all these things about me. I got to be all upset. So I stayed in a positive mindset, and I was just staying present, saying positive things to myself. You're going to make this next kick.
And that shot when he said, I got to listen to guys on social media take shots at me that look like they're living in the dorm, that was about me. Because when we started, he's like, you look like you live in a dorm. And I'm like, yeah, you do. That's kind of why I wanted to set it up as. It looks like a dorm. So that was the shot he took at me. Again, Cougs Corner with Dean Janikowski. Trust me, you don't have to be just a Coug fan to listen to this. Just a great, he builds motorcycles in his garage, electric motorcycles. He built one for Ron Stone, who used to play on the team. It's just, it's a fascinating chat. This guy, and I told him, is going to be successful at everything and anything that he does once his football career is over. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson that, hey, man, these kickers or players, they're kids at the most, at the end of the day. Take it easy on them on social media. And that lesson is for me there as well. That is Hey, What the Puck? And again, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com. North Seattle franchise. And again, that interview with Dean, along with the Old Crimson podcast, available right now up on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Of course, pucksports.com. The Cougar Football Podcast release every Wednesday at 7 a.m. This week's Puck the Huskies podcast, no Jordan Reffett. He's in Mexico getting drunk with his family. So just me and Elise Woodward. That episode will come out later this evening. We will put it out later this evening, the Puck the Huskies podcast with Elise Woodward. All right, that's the longest daily puck drop we have ever done. Thanks to Ryan Divish for having to do substitute teaching. That's why we had to stretch it out. Big thanks to Jim Moore, who joined us earlier in the show from a Starbucks someplace in Washington. Also, Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Great conversation about the trade. If today, Jerome Baker and a fourth-round pick to the Titans for Ernest Jones the fourth. I like it. They had to fix something that was an issue, and that hopefully they fix it here with Ernest Jones, the fourth, now playing middle linebacker for the Seahawks. Ryan Divish, and again, our offseason Mariners talk continues throughout the offseason, picking a new storyline every single week, thanks to Chalet Bull. Everything up on YouTube shortly. It's going to take me a little extra time today. Also, if you want to listen to it on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts, and of course, pucksports.com. Complaints, concerns, praise, email me, puck@pucksports.com. Coming up tomorrow on the show, it's what is tomorrow? Thursday. Mikey G, Mike Garofolo from the NFL Network. Get his thoughts on Ernest Jones the fourth. Also, more trade talk in the NFL. We'll cover it all tomorrow with Mikey G. We'll see you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
No, die, so.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rob you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!